Climate change and urbanization, two of the most controversial social crises that the world is currently facing. Do these two dilemmas affect each other? Is this a local or global issue? How are we going to take advantage of this? What is our plan of action? Hello and good day. We are Group 1 from Section 1 and 2 and we are here to give you an insight into the social crisis. Now, I'd want to share some information with you on urbanization in the Philippines and how it affects climate change. As a result, many of the Philippine cities are built on rivers or in low elevation coastal areas, making them particularly vulnerable to flooding. As cities develop in size, the additional construction interferes with natural drainage, increasing the likelihood of flooding when it rains hard. Increasingly, most cities are becoming exposed to the effects of climate change, which include increasing heat waves, as well as the rising sea levels and storm surges in the coastal areas, among other things. Geneva, August 9, 2012. Following 12 days of rain caused by seasonal southwest monsoons. These are signs that the chronic floods that have submerged half of Manila and surrounding areas are subsiding. The crisis is the worst in the Philippines since 2009, when flash floods killed hundreds. It came after more than a month's worth of rain fell on Manila in 24 hours, causing a deadly landslide and exposing flaws in urban planning management. Millions of squatters live in the city, having been forced to flee the massive shanty towns that line rivers and sewers overnight for the safety of schools, gymnasiums, and other government buildings. According to the National Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Council of the Philippines, up to 1 million people have been affected, with 18,600 in government evacuation centers and another 231,000 seeking refuge with friends and relatives. According to reports, 11 people were killed. Floodwaters are residing in many areas, but people remain trapped on their roofs. The world is still a long way from reaching an agreement on the necessary actions to combat global warming. These actions are make your commute green, be more conservative with energy usage, recycle, educate yourself and others, encourage the use of renewable energies, and many more. Saving the environment begins with us, and it is our responsibility to take action against these heinous changes in order to protect the planet for our future generations.
Ang trabaho po ng isang river warrior, yung mga solid waste, yung mga basura po na lumulutang sa mga kaesterohan, kailugan, kami po yung pumupuksa o kami po yung kumukuha o nililinis po namin yung mga yun.
The ability or inability of a city administration to regulate city expansion, to ensure that risk-reducing infrastructure is in place, and to ensure that low-income groups may seek housing in safe locales is crucial to the success or failure of a city administration. The high pace of migration from rural regions contributes to the challenge of high population density, overcrowding, traffic congestion, pollution, house shortages, slum and squatter dwellings, expensive rents, horrible urban living situations, inadequate infrastructural services, poverty, unemployment, and poor sanitation have all resulted from fast population expansion, resulting in a high crime rate. All of these factors have an effect or impact on emerging nations highly populated.
First, I want to discuss globalization and how it affects climate change. Globalization has a huge impact on our environment. When we talk about globalization, it is not always about its negative impacts, but also has a positive impacts as well.
A nature reserve instead. Secondly, globalization have expanded options of living necessities. More communities now have access to previously unavailable foods, medicines, and living necessities. For instance, the trading of coffee. Coffee is said to be originally from Ethiopia and consumed in the Arabic region. Nonetheless, due to commercial trades after the 11th century, it is nowadays known as a globally consumed commodity. Since globalization promotes large-scale industrial production, it means that it causes climate change. If there is climate change, there will be milder winters. Milder winters could reduce the death rate from health issues like stroke. So, although globalization causes climate change, there are
In terms of its pros, having a lot of people in a certain city or place can also maximize or increase power at hand. They can tackle and make actions regarding deforestation and other environmental concerns. The second one is globalization, expands for options for living necessities. As cities become populated, there is always a need for living spaces. There's a lot of buildings and apartments for rent because of the expanding population. Therefore, globalization affects climate change, but it also causes milder winters for some countries, which leads to lesser mosquito-borne illnesses. As climate change happens, it will lessen the chances of having mosquito illnesses such as dengue and malaria. With globalization, it can also increase the environmental-friendly technologies such as solar panel features for some of the house's appliances. With solar panels, it can lessen the electricity consumption and can also limit the street cable wires.
and ocean. These toxic waste has caused lots of damage to plants by interfering in their genetic makeup. It has put pressure on the available land resources. Some industrial waste has also been thrown into the ocean. This has killed many underwater organisms and has deposited many harmful chemicals in the ocean. In addition, in various parts of the world, mountains are being cut to make way for a passing tunnel or a highway. Vast areas have also been used to make new buildings. This will overall decrease our free space available on Earth. Last but not least, the worldwide distribution of goods is also creating a big garbage problem as lots of plastic are used to transport these raw materials. Plastic is very harmful to our planet as it is non-biodegradable.
However, globalization has many negative impacts too. First is in the increase in transportation, which can be the cause of noise pollution and air pollution. Increasing number of transportation can be harmful in our environment because of carbon monoxide emission. Increased industrialization, this causes more environmental waste and harmful waste for some of the animals and even people, such as toxic waste. Increased industrialization can also lessen vast areas that balance our environment. It minimizes the environmental space or natural habitat for animals because of deforestation.
The world population grows as time passes by, and the economy has become more modern. According to the National Geographic, cities began to develop on becoming urban due to the growth in population in rural areas. As a result, numerous of people tend to move to cities. This process is known as urbanization. The idea of urban life has always shown a better place where people tend to move in urban areas, thinking that moving in urban areas offers greater life opportunities. It has always been discussed in various studies that urban areas are far more developed than rural areas. The National Geographic stated that urban areas create better economic opportunities wherein a lot of people do business activities in cities. However, moving to urban areas has its downside. Urban areas have a reduced exposure to nature because of its limited space due to the population. In urban areas being generally crowded, thus this result in problems like pollution, flooding, and more. A report from Global Carbon Project says large amounts of coal, oil, and natural gas are used that affect climate change. Energy experts suggest 4 ways to achieve climate goals. First is solar panels and wind turbines. Solar panels and wind turbines use renewable resources to produce electricity without Second is using batteries for electric vehicles. Using electric vehicles can lessen the amount of oil and fossil fuel used on cars. Third is the power to X. Power to X is a process to store renewable energy that extract hydrogen from water by the use of electrolyzers. Electrolyzers are used for decarbonizing heating. Electrolyzers can help to reduce the amount of carbon dioxide by the process of making industrial materials. Fourth is carbon capture and storage. Carbon capture and storage is a way to extract the carbon dioxide that is emitted into the atmosphere. One way of doing carbon capture and storage is by planting trees, but it would not be possible to plant a lot of trees since most of the parts of the land are occupied. But there are companies who are capturing and storing carbon dioxide.
Now, let us explain these following societal issues that were mentioned earlier. Pope Francis's Laudato Si is a reliable source that we must learn about to expand our knowledge in addressing these ecological issues. In the first chapter of Laudato Si, it is entitled What is Happening to Our Home? The following subtopics in this chapter are all correlated with urbanization. Let's start with pollution. As urbanization takes over the world, our habitat becomes congested because of the rise of the different infrastructures in every corner of the streets. Hundreds and thousands of cars are stuck in traffic, releasing an abundant number of carbon emissions, which is a common pollutant. An increase in usage of non-recyclable waste also increases, which will later on pollute our landfills and water system. Another issue that was raised is how our consumption in water is rapidly increasing because of the increase in urban population. This issue will later on result to water shortage. These ecological issues are results of the increasing urban population. Global inequality is also an issue that has struck urbanization. It is evident that developing countries have a higher percentage in population growth than developed countries. In order to address this, family planning is highly encouraged to be practiced to raise awareness and preparedness to the family. Educating the society about how poverty affects not just them, but it also affects other people because of the increase in the needs of natural resources must be done as well, that we will be able to live in a sustainable community. And for the next chapter, we have chapter 5, Lines of Approach and Action. Urbanization is somehow beneficial for the society. But why does urbanization create a massive threat? It is because we are not acting as one. If we will work together as one in creating a sustainable society, urbanization will not result into different ecological crises. Showing responsibility and the spreading of awareness is already enough for us to save our world and to maintain a sustainable habitat, not just for us, and for the future's sake as well.